I would like to welcome everyone at the conference Safe to Be. It's a conference tackling topics of anti-LGBT hate crimes and hate speech. And as well, at the same time, we are speaking about the possibilities of implementing restorative justice in the field. So the question has been around Europe for quite some time, but we, within the project Safe to Be, are actually trying to find even newer solutions in how to work with the hate crimes and hate speech, especially in the situation of new normal. And in various countries, we see that an increase, especially of the hate speech, is growing, and it requires more and more different new solutions of how to combat this situation.
The main focus of this project is to support professionals to keep our communities safe from anti-LGBTI hate crimes and hate speech, and also to raise awareness among our communities. This is the main focus of the project. We have three objectives. The first one is to build the capacity of law enforcement on countering anti-LGBTI hate speech and hate crime. Second one is raise awareness on anti-LGBTI hate speech and on freedom of expression. And the third one is to stimulate the application of restorative justice and rehabilitation services. We have different deliverables in this project. We started with a survey. We also made a toolkit on hate crime and hate speech training. It's multilingual. It's a multilingual multimedia toolkit for law enforcement training purposes. We also made 2 short educational videos as an integral part of the toolkit, and a handbook on restorative justice and rehabilitation practices.
What is restorative justice? By the way, it's not so easy. Usually we say that it's a new paradigm of criminal justice, but there are also many other possible meanings of this. For example, is it a new paradigm of criminal justice? Of course, but is it a new way of thinking about crime? Is it a new lifestyle? So I would like to welcome everybody to the world of restorative justice, to invite to be active, as restorative justice needs really many of us.
Restorative justice and the idea of harm is really important when we look at hate crime, because we know through many different research studies now, including research that we've carried out at the University of Sussex, that hate crimes against LGBT people are likely to have a much more enhanced impact. So levels of fear, anxiety, anger, for example, are elevated in victims of anti-LGBT hate crime compared with similar crimes that aren't motivated with that hate element. And those emotions often lead to certain behaviors, such as avoiding going out, withdrawal, and in some cases changing the way you act, not holding your partner's hand, even changing your appearance. And through the research that we've conducted at Sussex University, we know that this is linked to what's called the perception of threat. So hate crimes threaten us as LGBT people. They threaten both physical safety, but also they threaten us symbolically. What I mean by symbolically is that it threatens our way of being, our rights as individuals, our norms, our capacity to be our true selves. And so when you're threatened in that way, it's likely to have an elevated emotional impact, in particular causing fear, anxiety, and feelings of anger. And that leads directly to certain negative behaviors, which stops us from being our true selves. So restorative justice is a way of bringing people together to talk about harm, to talk about the impacts of anti-LGBT hostility, and to find ways in which some of those hostilities might be repaired, and also to find ways in which those who commit those types of offences might be less likely to do so in the future.
I have the pleasure to present to all of you today a draft policy brief that was developed by Abilities Foundation on the basis of the research conducted within the Speak Out project. And it is our suggestion to the participants of the conference that this policy brief become part of the conference proceedings, and afterwards, every organization or every person taking part in the conference can make use of it for advocacy purposes on the national level or at the EU level. For this purpose, EU member states should take steps to increase the visibility of restorative justice measures where they are envisioned in the law or available on the ground as a result of the work of civil society organizations, and support the organizations providing them.
I can proudly say that based on the trainings that we've delivered in the last almost 18 months, more than 100 police officers had an introductory training. They are better aware of what each of the letters in the abbreviation stands for. They understand, or at least are aware, that people can identify based on biological sex, but also based on gender identity, gender expression, attraction. I believe that based on what we have done, they are also much more aware of the personal stories and the vulnerability of the community.
I'm not a scientist, but if Einstein said it, it's easier to break an atom than a prejudice. I will have to agree with him. Another, please. But it may be easier to break the atom, but with awareness, respect, dialogue, and tolerance, we think it's possible also to break a prejudice.
It really is a mantra. When I was running the government hate crime program, one of my main objectives was, the wording was to make sure that no ministers and executives make no decision without the views of the community being understood when they make the decision.
What can you do? How can you report if something happens, if you experience an online incident or hate speech? Everything you need to know is here. Actually is into this section. And then we have a separator for empowering stories. We have asked some YouTubers from the countries, the partner countries, to share their stories of hate online, but to also give an empowering message on how to deal with it, and always that you need to report. With that in mind, the idea is to raise more awareness about hate crimes, about hate speech, and giving victims and organizations and professionals more tools to fight this.
From our survey, what we found across the countries where the survey took place is that 66% of participants had experienced some form of anti-LGBT online hate crime or hate speech in the last 5 years. So around about 2/3 of our participants.
Our reviewers do 24/7 review. There's always someone reviewing pieces of content, and that's well over 50 languages across the world that we have hired for, to make sure we have that language support in place. In total, and just to give an idea of the scale, about 2 million pieces of content are actioned every single day by our team of reviewers.
You know, this is a really important issue to TikTok, and it's really important to me, and we really want to set the bar for safety and continue to raise it.
We think about hate speech, hate crimes, mass atrocities as manifestations of the same type of intolerance, and we think companies such as TikTok and Facebook are better positioned to kind of carry the torch when it comes to conversations about hate speech for right now. But what we focus our efforts on, and that's how I think about this, when I think about all of these varied forms of intolerance, I think about not, oh dear, my organization addressing all of them in isolation. I think about the global community coming together and everybody kind of filling their role in addressing these manifestations of intolerance.
So my main message is that we can do simple steps to make our online space more inclusive, and we can do something that LGBT community would not have to read all these negative messages any longer.
Thank you so much, Egle. I completely agree. As community-based organizations, as a civil society, one of our main jobs is to raise the awareness within the communities about the possibilities to act when they see online hate, how to report it, where to turn for help.
I do hope that you enjoyed these 2 days and that you found them meaningful and interesting and insightful, and that everything that we spoke about will give you hope and motivation for the work that's upcoming, because I think we can all safely agree that a lot has been done, but a lot still needs to be done in order to achieve safer environment for the LGBTIQ+ communities online and offline, and that there are so many more tools and practices that we can use and apply to make that happen.
I just added this little word with the conference that, and I hope we all go with hope and motivation, as you guys mentioned before that.